calls again for that. Well, anyone that's been coming, I don't know, who you're coming to.
Dang, they already here.
At that point, they know. Yeah, you don't have to- yeah, so many people like, there's no- I got another one from, why I. This program. The third thing is that it's like, yeah, I don't think that. Well, I know. I just sent that email. You want to know. I'm doing a survey right now for all, for the votes. I think you told me, can you check? Yeah. And then the keyboard is for the. I think you get one more. And I'm like, some people, there's a vibration, that's, yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. We'll get started in like 5 minutes. Just want to let our audience member trickle on in and any additional candidates. Renee, good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us here today. We get started in about 2 more minutes just to let our audience member and any additional candidates trickle on. But thank you again for joining us here today. Also, if anyone is here for the Leadership Initiative, can I please have you send your first, last name, as well as your student ID number and SAC send email directly to me in chat, please.
And I'm excited to be here.
Alrighty, well, good morning, everyone. It is 9:35, so we are going to kick things off. Thank you all again for joining us here today for our Vice President Candidate Forum when it comes down to Vice President of Finance, Vice President of University Affairs, and Vice President of Academic Affairs. Before we get started, just some general procedures. Any questions asked by the audience will be asked of all candidates for the same position with the same amount of time allotted, which will generally be 1 minute. Secondly, no candidate may ask questions of other candidates so that there is no way to give an unfair advantage or disadvantage to the candidates on the panel today. Lastly, following the forum, any statements about ASI that are factually incorrect will be addressed on the ASI website fact check section. Just a general procedure for the timing of today's event, we'll be doing a 2-minute opening statement, followed by a 1 minute to answer a general question, 1 minute to answer a positional question, and we'll do about 10 minutes for a Q&A session from our audience if they do provide us any questions. Lastly, we'll do a 2-minute closing statement. We'll have our Associate Director, Arbir Atwal, doing the timing for today's event. Basically, for the last 10 seconds, she'll be doing the finger countdown until it comes down to this with a fist, where we'll basically jump in and say, I'm sorry, time has elapsed. With that being said, though, we will go ahead and get started with our opening statement. And today we're going to start off with our Vice President of Finance. Can I please have all candidates turn on their camera, please, for today's event, as this will be uploaded onto our ASI website. But 2 minutes will be allotted, Wassim, so go ahead when you're started, please. I'm sorry, Wassim, but you are actually still muted.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Hello, Hornets. I am Wasim Hamdani. I'm eager to serve as your next ASI Vice President of Finance. As a third-year low-income transfer student, I've dedicated myself to improving our community's most pressing issues. With fresh perspective and a background in grassroots organizing, I am ready to bring about the change we need. Last semester, I worked with SQE fighting against the 34% tuition increase, advocating fiercely for our voices to be heard. We rallied, we made our voices loud, and we demanded that those in power listen to us. As treasurer of Allied Students for Justice, I prioritize student safety and basic needs, meeting with university officials to address concerns directly. As your next ASI Vice President of Finance, I'll fight for more accessible scholarships, reducing the burden on students. No one should struggle to afford tuition or feel food insecure on campus. I work to revitalize and expand the food pantry and establish an emergency fund for students facing financial hardships, utilizing existing surplus funds from the CSU. It is time our tuition money works for us. On April 10 and 11, let's vote for smart spending, advocacy, and leadership. Together, we can create a campus where every student thrives. Thank you.
Thank you, Awesome. Thank you. With that being said, we'll then move on to our Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Just to double check, you all can hear me? Okay, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty and fellow students, my name is Jen Galanato, and I look forward to running this campaign as your next Vice President of Academic Affairs. I stand before you with unwavering conviction and a profound dedication to the pursuit of academic excellence. As the candidate for the position of Vice President of Academic Affairs, I offer not only my passion for education, but also a strategic vision to elevate our academic environment to new heights that have never been seen before amongst our esteemed institution. Academic success is not merely a goal, it's merely the foundation of our students and why they come to our institution in the first place. Yet we have to recognize and realize the evolving landscape of education in itself and adapt according when it happens. As the Vpaa, I pledge to champion innovation and curriculum, ensuring that our courses remain relevant, engaging, and equitably accessible for all 32,000 students that are here as Hornets, proud Hornets, might I add. Additionally, I will tirelessly advocate for the expansion of interdisciplinary opportunities while fostering a dynamic learning environment where diverse perspectives intersect to spark creativity and critical thinking for all in the classroom setting. However, while academic excellence extends to the confines beyond the classroom and encompasses support systems that also empower students to thrive holistically in the classroom. I'm committed to enhancing these academic support services from tutoring and mental health and so much more that I've mentioned in my candidate statement. And so furthermore, I recognize the importance of amplifying our student voices in shaping these academic policies and work that we'll be doing in the upcoming 2024-2025 year for not just our upcoming generation of Hornets, but those who come along after, given that we'll be seeing a multitude of changes in the next coming years. So with that, I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to working with all of you hopefully soon and ensuring that, again, this is student-led and that students are at the forefront of everything and all things that we do in the classroom today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you so much.
So beautifully said, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. We'll now do our Vice President of University Affairs to do a 2-minute opening statement. And we're going to start off with Armando, please.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Alrighty, perfect. Hello there. I am Armando Perez, and I am running for the position of Vice President of University Affairs at Sac State. If elected, I will have the opportunity to amplify student voices and use them to enhance and improve the college experience for everyone. I have years of experience in student leadership going back to my senior class of high school, where I was senior class vice president, and I was passionate about advocating for others. I have been involved with ASI since my freshman year, and I currently serve as a CSSA liaison on the student government board. As a representative for all students, I will ensure that all voices are heard and taken into consideration when making decisions. The Vpua is responsible for having student representation on all university committees. Therefore, I will work hard to reach out to students from different backgrounds, clubs, and organizations to ensure diversity within those committees. Furthermore, I will work closely as well with the OGA office to stay up to date to issues that affect Sac State on all levels and trace it back to my Vpua position if I am elected. This office, I urge you to vote for me on April 10th and 11th as I am the most qualified candidate for the position of Vpua. Your vote will make a difference and together we can better our campus. This is your voice, our campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando. We'll now move on to Sabrina, please, for your 2-minute opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabrina Charleston, and I'm currently a third year in my undergrad as a psychology major with a Spanish minor. And as a dedicated advocate for the Black community, Latinx community, and the LGBT community, and also as a woman leader, my mission is to harness our collective voices to create a more equitable and supportive campus for every student. My roles as the external vice president and treasurer for the Black Student Union on campus, the mentor lead, community liaison, and recruitment lead for the Cooper Woodson College Enhancement Program, and also a research intern for the Race and Gender Equity Project, and also as a student leader intern for the Roberts Family Development Center, I work dedicatedly in these areas to help members of my communities and also to amplify voices in other communities that could also use my insight, experience, and also dedication to my devotion of diverse and equity. And for my vision for Sac State to enhance campus is by enhancing the safety and stability and collaborating with stakeholders to ensure a safer and greener campus, boosting graduation rates, and by providing targeted support to raise academic support rates, particularly for underrepresented communities, amplifying all voices, no matter what, for any concern, creating platforms for the dialogue and decision making that includes every student's voice. And vote for me. If you do vote for me, and if I'm elected, you would be guaranteed that every single student's voice will be heard. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you all again for your opening statement. Now that we've done that, we'll move on to our general question. And this will be the same question to all of you. Starting off with our Vice President of Finance candidate, Wassam. Can you please respond to what motivated you to run for student government? You have 1 minute to respond.
Okay. Coming from outside the existing sphere of governmental influence, I've seen all the occurrences that happened last semester, and I tried to bring fresh perspectives and new ideas. Because like many of you, like I mentioned, I've seen the problems occurring within our board last semester and desire change. The lack of accountability and transparency being central in these problems. When I get elected, I will ensure that everything is being done that is being done is shared with the public. The public, at the end of the day, they are the government. They are the reason why we are in these positions. We must serve their interests, and that should be central. Thank you.
Thank you, Wassam. Jen will also now move on to you for 1 minute to respond. What motivated you to run for student government?
I love this question, and it's quite odd why. And it's only because of this one quote that I received when I first started my journey as a student leader in my time as a community college student. Someone once told me when I first took up a student leadership position is if you have a little bit of passion and you have a little bit of drive, you can do just about anything. And it's something that I'm sure has probably been said multiple times by me, but that is truly why I choose to run is because I have passion and I have drive, and that is fueled by our students. And more particularly so, that is in the educational sphere. I haven't been in the educational world for long. I haven't been working in it for long, but I've been in it for a really long time. And I've seen firsthand these problems that students are facing on a day-to-day basis. And that's in a multitude of roles I've been able to hold. So why I run? It's because of you. It's because of students. It's because of Hornets. That's why. And that's what drove me to run.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Armando, we will now move on to you for the answer. For your answer, please. And you have 1 minute to respond of what motivated you to run for student government.
Yeah, so like I mentioned in my speech prior, I did run for student government in high school. And essentially what made me so passionate about student government specifically is having students being represented by me. So essentially I was class of 2022 in high school. So when I came back from quarantine, it was my senior year. And I remember it was very hard to get back into that groove of having everything in person. And essentially I did run for student government. I'm at my junior year, so into my senior year. So I actually was senior class vice president, and having that in my senior class for my senior year, it was really, really amazing to see the students that love having the support of me, of like Disneyland, for example, in graduation, having it at an actual auditorium instead of our high school. So this carried on to my experience at college here at Sac State. And essentially I wanted to get involved, and I got motivated because of the students and because of the passion, plain and simple. So like passion for me for students by amplifying their voices and shaping a campus environment that fosters growth, inclusion, and opportunity for all is what I'm going here for. And ever since I stepped foot on campus, I felt like a deep connection to the community
I'm
here.
sorry, but the speaker's time has elapsed.
Thank you.
Thank you, though. Thank you. Sabrina, we will now move on to you, please, where you have 1 minute to respond of what motivated you to run for student government.
So, what motivated me, the key thing that motivated me to run for student government was my diversity in all the areas that, and all the communities that I belong to. As I stated, that I am Black and also a part of the Latinx community and LGBT community. And also just as a woman leader, within my personal experiences and also witnessing secondhand, I understand how underrepresented communities, how our voices can be unrepresented in certain areas and environments. And that's what I want to change on campus, to where we're not just living diversity on paper, but we're actually expanding that environment and living that here on campus. And with that, what's my areas and diversity, I want to help be a representative for every student that identify in multiple communities.
Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you all for answering our general question. We'll now move on to our positional questions based off of your role within finance, university affairs, or academic affairs. Circling back to Wassim, please, for our positional question. The Vice President of Finance is responsible for seeing that the budget is prepared through the Financial and Budget Committee. What do you think should be the guiding principles the committee should use to develop the budget? Once again, the Vice President of Finance is responsible for seeing that the budget is prepared through the Finance and Budget Committee. What do you think should be the guiding principles that the committee should use to develop the budget? And you have 1 minute to respond.
It's simple. It's one word. I can summarize it all. Communication. We are going to communicate the interests that our constituents are presenting to us. That we're going to communicate with the members of university committees. They are the voices of admin. We prepare them for what they're going to be discussing and the decision making. Real leadership is communication. Many times we have a goal, and once we think it is too hard, we skip it and go to another. The way that we should be approach our community members, we will be working, and working. We are going to make sure that the goals of our students who fought for us are heard. They need to be communicated for and fought for. The only time most of us talk to us students is during our campaign trail. It is time to change that. We need to have people out there talking, and there is no better way than face-to-face contact. Thank you.
Thank you, Wasam. We'll now move on to our Vice President of Academic Affairs candidate, Jen. For your positional question, what are the most important academic issues on campus and how would you address them? Once again, what are the most important academic issues on campus and how would you address them?
That's also a really great question. And I don't believe there's just one thing that I can just point to if elected as the Vpaa, because there's a multitude of things that can impact a student's academic journey overall. So right now, if I were to kind of get a general pick of things, I would say, first of all, being able to afford college, especially with the recent tuition increase for students. Second of all, students being able to get the classes that they need. And then the third of it being, what else is there that can impact their academic journey? Like, are they things that are they those XYZ personal factors? Or is it the need for basic needs? Is it the need for mental health? Right. And I wish I had more time to answer this, but those three things are the things that I pinpoint the most because they all impact a student's journey, and therefore they're the most important in an academic aspect as well.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Starting off with Armando for your positional question, what would you do to support student members of university-wide committees? Once again, what would you do to support members of university-wide committees?
Thank you. So essentially, to support student members of university-wide committees, I know there are a lot of committees that the Vpua would be in charge of. So essentially, making sure that there's communication within the chairs within those committees. So essentially, I wouldn't just reach out to one, I would reach out to many other multiple ones. All the university-wide committees that ASI offers is very important. So essentially supporting them by going to their committees themselves and actually presenting myself, being involved with each committee and just communicating with the chair. That's a pretty simple explanation that I have. But essentially supporting them mentally, physically, and emotionally would be a top priority for me, and just making sure there's communication in each committee and with the chairs as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to Sabrina, please, the same question, and you have 1 minute to respond. What would you do to support student members of university-wide committees?
So as the vice president of university affairs, it is my job to already be involved in the committees that already exist here on campus. But within my leadership experience, one most valuable thing that I've learned is that, to identify the strengths within the group and within the committee itself. So my one of my best skills is organization and communication. So what I would do is that I would identify to whoever is best at which skill, and I would appoint them to or direct them and help them and guide them on a certain task, such as someone who is an expert at media or outreach. I would guide them on how to do that and guide their expertise within their skills for their assignments within the committee.
Alrighty, thank you all for answering our general and positional questions. Given that those are all the questions I have today for you all, we'll now be taking time to answer questions from the audience. So I can please have you all put the questions, if you do have one, in the Q&A session of today's meeting, basically. And just to remind you all, candidates cannot ask other candidates questions. These questions will be coming from our general audience. But while we wait, just to give you all a heads up and reminder that endorsements are due by 12 p.m. today in the University Union Gov office. So please get those in if you would like to have an official endorsement on record with us. Secondly, we will be hosting our presidential ticket candidate forum next week on Monday, same time from 9:30 to 10:30 via Zoom. And you can get those codes on our website, or please feel free to reach out to me where I can directly forward those over to you. But even then, we will be hosting our election kickoff events on both April 10th and 11th from 11 to 1 p.m. The first day will be held in the Capistrano Lawn area next to Saigon Bay, where we'll have a photo booth as well as food and other activities for you to partake in. The second day, we'll also be having nachos as well as tacos, and you can get food, snacks, and other beverages there. And we'll also be doing some in-person voting in that site as well. So please encourage people to vote on both 10th and 11th during those both voting days. All right, looks like we have a question, and we're going to start off with Wasim again, please. What is your number one priority if you were to win this role? And you have
My
1
number one
minute to
priority,
respond.
my number one priority is fighting for those low-income students. As a member of that community myself, we are lacking the underlying thing is we're lacking resources. We need to expand that food pantry. We need to have that emergency fund. We need to have more food security. We have the resources available to the CSU has billions of dollars available at its disposal in surplus. We can be directing these resources back to the students rather than have them going to the coffers of the CSU elite. These things they can happen. That there is no like reason why they shouldn't be happening. Like going back to the 34% tuition increase as well. We can mitigate those effects as well by having more resources available as well. And that's really my main priority is really fighting for those low income students and also the transfer students as well that may not know about these resources that we have.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Awesome. Thank you. Jen, we will now move on to you for the same question when you have 1 minute to respond. What is your number one priority if you were to win this role?
Thank you for the question. If I were to win, the number one priority I have has been a burning question that I've had since I even arrived on this campus and is And it's how do I ensure that you are able to succeed and get across the finish line? For many Hornets, that has been an ongoing question, and that's one that I hope to address. And there are multiple ways and methods that I'm looking forward to doing so in partnership with our students, whether that being work groups, whether that being looking at more data surrounding graduation, enrollment, retention for our students, looking at recruitment strategies of our students from high school to the community college level. That also means looking at our current messaging on how we're getting students to succeed. And then also looking at other methods where students may have been lost through the cracks. We cannot allow that to happen because again, through the role of the Vice President of Academic Affairs is ensuring that education is at the forefront for everybody because I see everything that happens in the classroom. So with that, my priority is how do I get you to succeed and how do I get you to finish over the graduation line?
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. We will now move on to Armando, please. What is your number one priority if you were to win this role?
If elected as Vpua, my first priority would be enhancing student engagement. This position itself is very important with making sure students are involved within ASI. So to achieve this, there could be a possibility of launching an awareness campaign to inform students about ASI committees. And this would be going through social media and personal flyers, because essentially students need to have a voice on campus and students may feel intimidated or scared to join these committees, or some of them may not be able to because they're student parents. They commute from school, they come here to school and then just go back home. So essentially making it aware to students that they have this opportunity to join committees would be really important. So number one would be enhancing student engagement. Also expanding representation, collaborating with student organizations and clubs and other cultural groups to enhance and ensure that there's representation and diversity within these university-wide committees would be really important. And I would actively reach out to different student committees and provide support and resources to encourage their participation within ASI, and essentially establishing support structures, like I mentioned earlier, having communication within the chairs as well. And I know I'm running out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando. We'll now pose a question to you, Sabrina. What is your number one priority if you were to win this role?
Well, there's just so many things that I want to talk about. So hopefully I can probably combine two in one. So one thing that I'm currently working on is that I'm starting a multicultural council to where I want to bridge like well, at least have one representative of all cultural and social student ran clubs on campus, to where we can plan out a whole month of events to where we can collab and decide on which days we'll collab. For instance, like the Black Healthcare Club Alliance can also collaborate with the Pacific Islander Healthcare Club Alliance as well. And it's just, ideas like that, to where if we merge our audience, it would immensely change how people interact with each other on campus. And the second thing would be to focus on post and pre-preparation for graduation, because I do want to enhance the internships and opportunities here directly on campus by providing those available for students while they're learning the material at the same time, hands-on.
Sorry, but the speaker's time has elapsed. Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you all for answering our first our first question from our audience. Moving on though, how will you work to ensure that your own personal biases do not interfere with the work of ASI as a whole, given that ASI represents all students? Once again, how will you work to ensure that your own personal biases do not interfere with the work of ASI as a whole, given that ASI represents all students? And we're going to start off with Wassim, please.
When it comes to personal biases, personal opinions, and things of that nature, they're irrelevant to me. My only concern is the concerns of my students, the concerns of my constituents. At the end of the day, they're who I represent. I'm not in ASI to represent my own interests. I'm not in ASI to advance my own goals. My whole entire time as Vice President of Finance will be spent will be spent collaborating and talking with students, will be spent actually going up to organizations, actually going up to clubs and hearing the financial needs that they have and hearing how I can improve those pressing issues that they have. And like going back to my background in grassroots organizing, working with SQE, working as treasurer of Allied Students for Justice, my personal advisors do not matter in those instances as well, because at the end of the day, we're really trying to focus on improving those basic needs, on improving student safety, and meeting with officials to really push our concerns for real change. Thank you.
Thank you, Wasam. The same question will now go on over to Jen, please, of how will you work to ensure that your own personal biases do not interfere with your work of ASI as a whole, given that ASI represents all students, and you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you again for the question. And for that, I recognize that I also hold multiple hats as well. And in each of those roles, the question of personal bias has come up. And the way I've always dealt with it is I check it at the door. It is all left at the door. All my personal stuff, it's at the door, because the minute I have that cap on, whatever the role may be, that's the role I hold. So I come to you as Jen in this role, not Jen as a person, right? So the personal biases, they don't come up. Sure, am I going to have discourse and disagreement with individuals when I'm serving on this board? Absolutely, because that wouldn't come up, right, as a student leader. So for anybody that is worried about that, it's checked at the door for me. It's not going to come up at all, because as already said, the first priority I have on my mind, and the only priority on my mind, is how we're serving these students at the very forefront. These students are the ones that put us here. We cannot be here for our own selfish greed or need or pushing our own agenda. That's not how it works.
Thank you, Jen. We'll now go on over to Armando, please, of how will you work to ensure that your own personal biases do not interfere with the work of ASI as a whole, given that ASI represents all students?
Thank you. So personal bias shouldn't have a place here within ASI. Essentially, all 31,000 students who do decide to vote for the vice president position. So essentially representing all 31,000 students. First off, I would promote within the diversity inclusion within students to avoid personal bias. Ultimately, my overarching commitment would be prioritizing the welfare and interests of all Sac State students above my personal bias without having any. And one key thing that I would mention is that I would continuously remind ASI board members of their responsibilities to represent the diverse student body fairly, and emphasizing the importance of serving with integrity and humility, because they were elected by the students. Essentially, you're not supposed to have any personal bias, essentially leaving it at the door, as mentioned prior, because you were elected by all these students. You're represented by them. So thank you.
Thank you, Armando. I will now move on to you, Sabrina, please, where you have 1 minute to respond of how will you work to ensure that your own personal biases do not interfere with the work of ASI as a whole, given that ASI represents all students?
Okay, so for starts, I am currently a part of 5 cultural based organizations, and 2 of those organizations I work with kids. I work with the youth. So, and I conduct my own classrooms and stuff like that. So I'm already experienced and used to hearing different perspectives and finding out a way uh to cater to the majority and to cater to the most specific need that is mentioned. Specifically as a person of color, and in all the communities that I've had my personal experience in, I have had my own personal experience of my voice not being heard. And if I were to have any personal bias, it would be, what about the students first? Like, what about us first? What can I do to make sure that we are catered to and that our needs are met first? All of our needs, not just picking and choosing which needs are addressed.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you. Our last and final question. We're going to start off with you, Wasam, again, please. We have 1 minute to respond. Tell us something fun about yourself, please.
Something fun about myself is I guess I'm a member of the Sac State debate team. If you guys don't know, we get a little plug. Actually, on this April 9th, we have a public debate coming up at 7 p.m. where you can actually learn more about our team and kind of like see how it is. And it's really like engaging process. It's very like fulfilling. It's really like I honed in my argumentative skills. I learned how to have these dialogues with certain people, like really get that research skill, and it's really like engaging and fun as well. I highly recommend you guys check it out. And going to, I guess as well, I just really like going on hikes, really like being outdoors, especially when you're like really stressed with exams, stuff like that. It's really nice just to get out in nature and witness all the beauty that it really has, you know? And yeah, and I guess that's just me.
Thank you, Awesome. Thank you. Jen, you have 1 minute to respond to the same question as well. Please tell us something fun about yourself.
That's such a hard question because I think I am the utmost, most boring person on the planet. And I say this with the utmost respect to myself, only because you will probably catch me talking about anything that is not fun. Like I will talk about all the boring topics you're not supposed to talk to at the dinner table. I will talk to you about how Jane Austen is my favorite author of all time. But if we're going to talk about something somewhat fun that I've done, I guess I could talk a little bit about my experience as a member of our Model United Nations team. We just recently completed a trip to New York in the first session where our team brought home a multitude of awards. Shout out to the 2024 New York cohort. And like already mentioned, it is a great team and I love working with them. The fun part about being in part of that team is probably getting to find out what everybody's favorite drinks are and also consuming very odd drinks. I've never consumed a fig or a balsamic fig latte before, but that was interesting.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. We'll now move on to our Vice President of University Affairs candidate, please. Armando, can you please tell us something fun about yourself?
Yeah, so I would have to say a similar thing. With me personally, I have two jobs currently, so with the class workload as well, there's not much time to have fun, but I think the fun thing that I love to do by myself when I'm not having those jobs or having classes to deal with, I think taking priority in my mental health is something fun to me personally because essentially mental health for myself has been a struggle my freshman year and having time for myself, like going on just going on a walk, going with my friends, that's really important to me. Essentially, I think one other thing too that I'd like to do for fun, not anymore because the tickets are really expensive now, but for the Sacramento Kings games, I would go with my dad and my family. I went for Christmas one time, and I feel like with those kinds of going out with like Sacramento Kings, I love the Sacramento Kings, go Kings, like the beam. Essentially with those are my things of fun. I love hanging out with my friends and family. But other than that, I guess having self-care is like my fun. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Armando. We'll now move on to you, Sabrina, please, of telling us something fun about yourself. And you have 1 minute to respond.
Okay, so I feel like I put all my passions and all the work that I do. I love to work with the youth, and that's what I aspire to do and own my own mental health facility catering specifically to Black and Brown youth. So that's where I spend majority of my time at. And also, just being the last child of 8, I've been raised to serve, do what's best for the community and for the collective. And that's what I've been doing my whole life and what I enjoy doing. And also what I would say is that as a spiritual person, what I do on my own end is that I have my own spiritual groundings to where I go to sound baths occasionally and also meditate and practice affirmations on my own time. But that's just a little bit of background about me. And also I play basketball. So yeah, I'm usually at the well working out
Thank
sometimes.
you, Sabrina, and thank you all for answering our questions from our audience. Given that there are no more, we're going to do a 2-minute closing statement, please. And we're going to start off with Wassim, please.
Thank you, fellow Hornets, for your attention and engagement throughout this dialogue. As we approach the closing forum, I just want to reiterate some of my commitments to serving you as your next Vice President of Finance. I stand before you as a third-year low-income transfer student, deeply rooted in the struggles and aspirations of our diverse community. My journey has been one of advocacy and action, from rallying against unjust tuition hikes to advocating for basic needs and student safety. These experiences have shaped my perspective and fueled my determination to bring about meaningful change. The questions posed this morning have illuminated key areas where our campus can improve, from facing drug and alcohol prevention programs to increasing awareness of mental health services and the food pantry. It is clear that we have work to do. As your Vice President of Finance, I will prioritize these needs and work tirelessly to address them. I will fight for more accessible scholarships and ensure that every student, regardless of background, has the opportunity to thrive. My leadership style is grounded in collaboration, and transparency. I believe in the power of communication to drive bridges and build consensus. I will champion principles of openness and accountability in our budgeting process. I will ensure that the voices of our constituents are heard and that our financial decisions reflect the priorities of our community. But leadership is not just about words, it's about action as well. It is rolling up our sleeves and doing the hard work to create positive change. I am ready to hit the ground running on day one, working tirelessly to make our campus a place where every student can succeed. On April 10, 11, I urge you to vote for smart spending, advocacy, and leadership. Together, we can but we can build a brighter future for all our Hornets. Thank you for your support, and let's make history together.
Thank you, Wassam. We'll now move on to Jen, please, for your closing statement, where you have 2 minutes to respond.
Fellow Hornets, as we draw to the conclusion of this forum, I'm filled with the utmost and overwhelming sense of gratitude for this opportunity to share my vision with all of you. Over the past few minutes, I've had the opportunity to speak about my passion for academic excellence and my commitment to all of you to ensure that we are enhancing the educational experience for every single one of you on our campus. But now, in these final moments, I'd like to personally speak to you. I'd like to speak to the dreamers, the innovators, the seekers of knowledge who sit amongst us today. And I want to know that, and I want you to know that your voices matter, your dreams matter, and your futures matter. As the candidate for the Vpaa position, I'm not asking for your vote, I'm asking for your partnership and collaboration in the upcoming academic term. Together, we have the power to shape the future of our academic community. Together, we can break down barriers, challenge the status quo, and create a campus environment where everyone can thrive and succeed. But this journey cannot be done alone. It requires each and every one of us to stand together, united in commitment to excellence, driven by our collective vision for the future. So I ask you, each and every one of my fellow Hornets, to join me in this endeavor together. Let us work hand in hand to build a brighter future for the next generation of Hornets that come after, where every student has the opportunity to reach their full potential and graduate. Let us be bold in our aspirations and relentless in our pursuit of progress while unwavering in our dedication to each other. In your consideration on April 10th and 11th, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for your time, consideration, and attention to the matter. Together, let us rise to the challenges before us and seize the opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you, and may we all strive for excellence, because in everything that we do, students lead first, today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jen, for your closing statement. We'll now move on to Armando, please.
So in closing, I want to express my sincere gratitude for considering me as your candidate for Vice President of University Affairs. Together, we do have the opportunity to shape the future within Sac State and ASI and create positive change that will benefit all students. I am committed to advocating for your needs and amplifying the voices and working tirelessly to ensure that every student at Sac State feels valued, included, and empowered to succeed. With your support, we can build a campus community that celebrates diversity, collaboration, and provides opportunities for growth and engagement. I invite you to join me on my campaign as we strive to make Sac State the best it can be. Your vote is not just a vote for me, it's a vote for our collective vision for a brighter future for all. And don't forget, voting does take place April 10th and 11th, so together let's make a difference and leave a legacy that will positively impact generations to come. Thank you for your trust, your support, and your dedication to our university. Let's make it happen. This is our voice, our campus. Vote Armando for Vpua. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Sabrina, please.
So, if elected for Vice President of University Affairs, I want to represent and advocate for all students. As a proud member of the LGBT community, Latinx community, Black community, and as a woman and as a leader in general, representing underrepresented communities is one thing that I do best at of what I currently do now. And I want to take that campus wide. The one thing that, as an advocate, the one thing that I value the most is transparency and also honesty. And that's what I want to, as representing the student body as a whole, that's what I want to give, is more transparency, more advocacy, and addressing all issues, no matter how small the concern may seem to others. a concern is a valid concern and should always be addressed. And if you vote for me and empower your voices, we can make the community and university a better campus. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you all again for your participation today in our candidate forum. As you all heard, voting occurs on April 10th and 11th. So please, please, please get out the vote and campaign hard. Additionally noting, we are still looking for volunteers for our in-person polling site. So if you know anyone who's looking for volunteering hours, please send them our way, and we'll be more than happy to have them. We'll give them a free shirt as well as free food as well. Lastly, don't forget about our Cash for Clubs initiative, where you can win $500 plus for any club or organization that is registered under SOUL, and you did your club agreement form in a timely manner, basically. So encourage people to vote for not only you, but your clubs or organizations. With that being said, though, I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day, and thank you.